How can you play a role to affect human trafficking? That's the topic we're going to address today on Flourish-Meant. I'm your host, Tina Yeager. And today I have as my guest the founder and owner of Teshuah Tea Company. He is also a survivor of a near-death accident, and this prompted him to begin a ministry to help others. He was a member of Samaritan Ministries, and that ministry actually modeled this helping one another way of doing things. And he followed that when he founded this company. And his name is Brad Hopp. Welcome, Brad. I'm so honored to have you on Flourish-Meant today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
Let's dive right in to that time when you felt spurred by the Holy Spirit and your gratitude to begin a company that could help others. Can you talk about your personal story a little bit?
On April 13th of 2017, I had a tractor rollover. It was an old Farmall 400. It was a classic. If you see an American red Farmall tractor in the paintings and whatever, it was one of those. It was the classic narrow front. I had a loader on it. We were cleaning up the front yard and on our acreage, and I would always go out of my driveway, down the highway, and then down through the ditch and out to where I have a burn pile and whatever. And I had a full load in the loader, and I knew it was heavy, and going down the shoulder of the road, and decided not to go in the way I normally did, which would have been nose first. Decided to go in sideways, and what I didn't see was a little dip, couple inches deep, and it was just enough that it threw the balance of the tractor. And from 6 feet up on the shoulder of the road, I barrel rolled the tractor sideways into the ditch, and the tractor landed on me. I should have pushed off backwards, but hindsight being 2020, I decided to spin and try to throw myself with the tractor and try to get away that way, use the inertia of the tractor, and almost made it. But the rear tire landed on my pelvis and was still in drive. I could hear, hindsight again, 2020, I could hear the battery sparking, and I just knew I needed to get away from it. I'm like, I've got to get away from this thing. And I reached up and I found the axle blind, and I pushed. I had probably 2 or 3 inches of space, of length of my arm to push, and the whole tractor just goes hop. And I crawled out from under it and crawled 5 or 6 feet away with a broken pelvis and got away from it. The tractor started on fire, and both rear tires were in the flames. Only the driver's side tire, which was away from me, it's the only one that burned out. And the other tire, in fact, still holds air, even though it was in the fire. So Sioux City couldn't do my surgery, so they sent me to Omaha and did my surgery down there. And they were saying 3 months of no walking, 6 months of no working. 6 weeks after my surgery, I walked out of my follow-up appointment, and 2 weeks later, I was dragging luggage across Chicago O'Hare Airport. So, yeah, it was completely a miracle. And from that, our medical bills would have been, because it was 2 weeks in the hospital. I had, the week down in Omaha after the surgery, during the surgery. And then after that, I had a week in Sioux City doing rehab, off-site rehab after that for a couple months. And during that time period, our medical bills would have been $150,000, and Samaritan stepped up to the plate and helped out. And from that, I took that I liked what Samaritan was doing on their mode of operation. And so I wanted to take that over to what we wanted to do when we started Teshuah, and went and put that similar type of a mindset into setting up the business.
That inspired you, that helped you to recover, and really motivated you to begin Teshuah Ministries.
So the ministry that we kind of took some ideas from is a company called Samaritan Ministries. They're actually our health sharing company. They're not a health insurance company. They're a Christian MediShare type program where all the members support each other every month. So every month I get a note or an email or a letter actually in the mail and it says, hey, your monthly share uh, goes to this member to help cover their expenses for a heart attack or for a baby being born or cancer recovery or whatever it may be. And so every month when I get my newsletter, I write out our check and it goes to that other member. And one of the things that I really like about Samaritan is a lot of companies, we've been part of other Christian MetaShare type programs, and all of our payments go direct to the company and then they disperse it. But I don't know where my money's going. I don't know, is it actually going to another member? And with Samaritan, I'm actually writing that check every month to another member. One of my payments a year goes to Samaritan Ministries to help cover the overhead and all those expenses. But that's the thing that I really like is that I know it's going direct to this other member and it's helping them pay their medical bills on whatever it may be. And that's the thing that we've really tried to do with Teshuah is to make Teshuah very transparent in where is my funds going? What are my funds going for? What's the profit going for? And that's why we've chosen to donate 100% or give 100% of all of our profits to the rescue missions because then people can say, it's not going to make some CEO, fat cat, nonprofit owner wealthy. It's going into the work that they said it's going into.
So you wouldn't have thought, just as a farmer, that God could use you to stop human trafficking halfway across the world, really. When you were rescued from this death experience, basically, where you could have almost died, and Samaritan Ministries and some firefighters and people that were around you in your community prayed for you and rallied, this inspired you to do ministry of your own. Speak to that person who thinks, how can I help? Who am I to do anything for a situation I've never hardly even heard about?
I'm probably the least likely person. um, I grew up on a dairy farm in Northwest Iowa, and I've run businesses over the years. My wife runs our printing business, and we've done different things like that, and we still do. But realistically, I'm one of the least likely people uh, to be used in this way. But we were looking for a change, and we wanted to do something different. And I have a friend of mine that is a missionary in communist Asia, and he and the team are rescuing underage girls out of sex trafficking. And I was like, hey, they're making these bracelets, they're making this tea. I could start my own little Brad's bracelet shop or something, and be able to stop doing fire truck delivery like I had been doing. And so Andrew and I started talking about it and talking about the logistics of it and what it would look like, and decided to leap in with both feet and start Teshuah. And when I first sent him the name of the business, I wanted something along the lines of deliverance tea, freedom tea, just something. And none of it all sounded cliche, and I wanted something different and unique. And so I looked up the Hebrew name for deliverance, or the Hebrew word for deliverance, and it was Teshuah. And so I sent it to him. So he sent it back to me with a bunch of Asian characters that I didn't understand, and had it broken down phonetically. And the Teh means special, the Shu means tree, and the AH at the end of it is an exclamation point in this language. And so deliverance was special tree with an exclamation point. So it wasn't just yeah, this is just an elm tree, or, this was a meaningful tree. Well, obviously, you and I both know that our salvation comes through the cross of Christ, which was an extra special tree.
So the Lord prompted you to save young girls and young women halfway across the world because you just showed up in front of Him and said, what can I do?
Right.
So, to that person out there who thinks there's nothing that I can do, how can I get involved? What would you say to that person?
So we've set up a mechanism with Teshuah where we're already buying coffee, we're already buying tea, we're already buying gifts for our family and neighbors and friends and stuff. And our goal with Teshuah is not to. There's a lot of great organizations out there, so I don't want this to be a slight on anybody. But I have seen over time, I've seen organizations that bring a product to market to support different works or whatever. And it's an okay product sometimes. We wanted to start with a product first orientation where when somebody tried our coffee or tea, they were like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And then they see our mission and they go, oh, by the way, these guys have a fantastic mission. And so we're already buying coffee and tea. Just transfer your buying power from uh, whoever to us and be able to support the work that we're doing. So, if people want to come to teshuahtea.com, they can do that. It's TESHUAHTEA.com or deliverancetea.com.
And how much of the proceeds actually go to help the girls get out of human trafficking, get out of the sex
Right.
slave trafficking that is so prevalent?
We've set everything up so that 100% of our profits are going back to the rescue mission. COVID slowed things down. We had 3 years there where we couldn't get product coming from the country that Andrew is working in. And you won't hear me mention the name of the country that he's working in simply for security reasons. If somebody asks me privately, I'm going to tell them. But just out of simple security reasons, we don't talk about it on air. This particular government's known for spying and stuff. And so just to protect everybody, we're working to get as much of our finances back to the rescue mission as possible. And that's why we actually have a capital campaign going right now where if people are like, okay, I want to donate to Teshuah House and really be able to help there, but I also want to do more and I want to be able to help create a long-term economically viable revenue stream. That's where our capital campaign is coming in because we're working to set up a coffee roastery with public access, street access. The location we're looking at is in a higher end hotel in Sioux City, and it would give us exposure all over the nation for one, and it would get people to try our tea and our coffee and be able to have the experience of having a fantastic coffee or tea. And then it also generates a lot larger amount of income on an ongoing basis that we're able to send out to our different rescue missions that we're working with and potential new ones as well.
And how can people connect with Samaritan Ministries?
Okay, so it's SamaritanMinistries.org. You just want to make sure it's SamaritanMinistries.org.
I hope that all of you listening were stirred in your souls to want to be part of the solution to human trafficking across the globe. And of course, I also hope that you will come back for the next episode of Flourishment.